Hello everybody and welcome to another tutorial in camera and lens repair. And this video will be about lens repair, and especially about the oil on the aperture plates, and in this case it will be the Olympus Auto-S 1.8 38 millimeter for the Olympus F pen F, that should be. And it's a later version than the earlier video I made, because, well, I think it's important because they are different made, especially if you look into the aperture sampling. There might be minor difference in other places. In this video I will only look at the aperture assembly because it's what the case is about. Now, if we look through this lens here, it has the same problem like many other older Olympus lenses, and this is exactly oil on the aperture plates or the assembly. So if I press the depth of field button here direct on the lens, it's set to aperture 16, and I press the button here, you will see what's happened. Here it closes really good, but expand very slow. I mean, way too slow. So the pictures would actually be very overexposed, and this is not good. So yeah, let's take a look inside this later version. We need some rubber tools, at least this one. It's 40 millimeter outside here. I will say we can just measure it, something like, yeah, it should be around 40 millimeter or so. It is there, something like that. It's a rubber gasket from the hardware store, and the thing is, this rubber is really sticky, so it's good to, for example, unscrew the nameplates or other things on cameras and lenses. I also made myself a tool to unscrew the front lens assembly, which is a 35, no, not 35, but 37 millimeter hole saw, which I actually cut away all except 2 teeth. But those I filed and grind them, so there are 2 small pins that can actually go into the notches, not in the front name plate, but the front lens screw. And it's a bunch of other tools which can be very handy. I mean, like tweezers, screwdrivers. Some of those pig nose, I think they call, or twin pin tools. It's really good for some knots which are used in camera and lenses. And this just actually a flathead screwdriver bit, which I with my Proxon tool cut out and have the exact same distance between the two to fit in a knot, which I will show you sooner. A small tool here, also made out of a screw bit, is because there is, and that's the difference between the 2 lenses, this lens and the earlier version with a lower number than this. And there is, which I will show you, it's important to have this kind of a tool. It's actually a flathead. I mean, yeah, not flat, yeah, flathead, which I simply cut through to half. I mean, make a cut in or so, and filed it with my grinder. File it so it's round and actually have 2 small pins. It will make it much easier than using a tweezer, or I mean a plier, which could be handy, but in this case it doesn't work. A rubber tool, this one, especially this shape, is really good. Now let's go through it. Yeah, take off the nameplate. It's easy. I mean, it should be easy. It could be different in your lens, but put the rubber tool directly on the nameplate and you can unscrew it counterclockwise. And before we continue, I just forgot. Somewhere underneath here, there is a small steel ball and a spring under the aperture ring. It's important because if you just take it apart, you'll probably be missing the steel ball or the spring. So it's very important that we will look into in a moment. So over the nameplate and the name ring and the outer ring, it has a notch, so it can only sit in one position. And now we are looking into the tiny steel ball, which is here. You can see, hopefully, it's right there. And if we take off that ring, the steel ball sitting there. So if we turn it over, it's something like that. And there's, I mean, you see there are two different holes. I mean, here is all the same distance, but it's not the case here. So let's see if it's possible. No, it isn't. You cannot put it in a different way because there's a pin here, this pin there, and it goes into the notch over here, which you can see here. So it's not possible to put it in a wrong way. Now, off with the little steel ball. Put it in a safe place. And we of course also take out the little spring, which is not that tiny, but still it is. So off with that, and then we can continue taking off the aperture ring itself. And you see, if you have seen the other video, it is different put together if we compare to the other lens. When I see it here, it looks like it is actually possible to put the, no, it isn't. You cannot simply put in the this aperture ring in a different way than it's meant to. No, I was just thinking there are two notches here, one there and one there, but it's not possible. Oh, whatever. Oh, it looks like you can actually take out the two screws here and change the position of the black ring here, put it all the way over to here. So the cutout here, see on the black, it will say set over here. And now you have numbers on the aperture than you normally had. What do you say, from 1.8 to 16 all the way up. Here is numbers, which will go from 0 up to 6. Well, it might be maybe for film or filmmaking or so, I don't know. Now, Next thing is we take the front lens group off, and you see there are a notch here and there is a notch over here, and in that case we can put it on. I mean, you can probably also use a caliper to unscrew it, but when you screw it in again, then you need the tool here. So, or if you have a lens tool, that's also good. But I like this kind of tool because I have a really good grip on it. So it was not that tight when I was in the lens at first. So of course I've been into the lens because I think there was a different made. So I would take a closer look. Now put this on a stand. You can use the rubber cone or whatever, and then we'll look into something different. Just to make it easier, it's not. I think it's not really necessary, but yeah, it is, because you need to come into the screws in here. So we better take off the mount, and I use a 2mm flathead screwdriver. It's nothing special. So out with the 3 screws, and take care of there might be some maybe one of the 2 buttons here will fall out, could be, and there is also a special way to put it in again, which I will show you sooner. I mean when I assemble it again. So off with the 3 screws. Better put them in a safe place. And now doesn't really matter if we set it to 16 or so, but we can see it doesn't really matter. So lifting it off gently, you see here is what it was on the other lens. It was the same case. So this pin here goes between the 2 pin here. So one have to catch one side here. So this pin will go between the 2, and then you have a gap. But they spring loaded, both of them. One spring is tightened up to this end here. So be careful to put it correctly in. So this is the depth of field button, and this is for the lock the lens to the camera. And here is the pin on the back, which you can see how it works. So now, and then we are on the back of the lens. So to not scratch or destroy anything, I make this I modified this caliper so it would fit between. There's not much gap here, so if you catch this pin here with your tool, it could easily bend. That's why I made this a little smaller. So now I can put it on. The distance between those 2 is, just so we can see it, is 22.18. Just so we know that. Now put it on and then have a good grip on it, and we can so there. this case here. So it did not sit very tight at first, so it shouldn't be a problem. But of course you can use some isopropyl alcohol on the thread. So the back lens group, nothing special. And now we look into what we actually want to see. And if we take a closer look at it, if it's possible, yeah, just need to close the aperture here. And then if I move the pin here on the back, you probably can see there is some shiny oil. Maybe it's better on the front, but there is. At least in more of the other parts, because it's simply too sticky. If we look here, yeah, you can see there are traces of oil here. So if we look at it, simply have too much oil. Now, the thing is, I want to go deeper into it, and that's why I made the little tiny tool here. Because look at this, it is not a screw head. It's just a, well, something that sticks out. So I have to use this that I put between on each side of it and stick it on. And in that case, I can just screw it out. And I press the two legs together, because then it's a bit it sits tight. So if we look here, this is how it looks. You can see the little pin which going through to, hopefully you can see it. But I actually made a drawing out of it so you can use it. See, this is how it looks. There is a gap here, and this something like 2.31 millimeter between the two pins, the two legs here, and the outside, which is a bit flat here, it's 1.4 millimeter. And the cutout, the inner cutout here, is 1 millimeter. So just so you know that, see the inner cutout here. The outer diameter here, different. This distance between the two legs out, the outer diameter is 2.31, sorry. So yeah, it makes things so much easier. Now, since I unscrew it, I can just take it out, and you will probably see there is some shiny oil here. It's a bit way too shiny. And there is also oil here, oil film in here. Now, to take it out, well, just like the other one, the earlier lens, this is in some way more easy. That's one thing I learned. Do not unscrew if it's not necessary. No. And it's the same with the other one. If it's not necessary, don't unscrew it. So now we can continue. So I make my pick nose tool here, which is actually good on the back here. So I can put it on here. You see the cutouts of the knot, each knot. It will make it a lot easier to just unscrew it in a very easy way. It looks like there is a thread in the in this yeah the main, it must be the main part of the main body of the aperture assembly. I don't know what the name is, but it makes it a lot easier, because then I can unscrew it from the other side here, which is normal screws. See, the 3 brass screws. I haven't disassembled the aperture assembly fully, because I want to make a video out of it, so I will just wait until I came to that part. Now, unscrew the 3 screws, which is not that hard, and you see the whole assembly here come that way out, just so we know that. Not all of the screws will easy come out, so I can just press it a little, maybe. Didn't go where it is. So one have to press on the back side of the aperture assembly, then I can take it out. So now more careful when we go to the last screw. Take it out. So, and now I can flip it over, but I think it's much easier to take it out, because I made this tool for the earlier version, because a round rubber tool will not fit in here, so it has to be like this here, just a rubber stopper. It's because it can fit in here, see, so in that way, and it makes things a lot easier. So I can just put this in and flip it over, and hopefully you can see I can, if I have another tool here, I can just press on the plate here, hopefully. Yeah, I lifted up too much. There's one important thing. Since the holes, I mean the holes look like they are very tight, but as I did on the other lens, the older lens, when the aperture assembly was in and tightened with the 3 screws, I make a scratch here, here, and over here, because then I know exact position of where it should sit, and that's important. So let's see if it can press it down here. So, and take it out, and you see there's a lot of shiny oil in here. I'll just use a cotton bud and a piece of lens like this, lens cloth, to with some isopropyl alcohol on. See, then we have the whole aperture assembly, and it's here. It's a bit different made than the other one, as I see it, but of course I haven't been fully into it. Remember what side the different parts sit. It will say this one and this one. I mean, in my opinion, it can only sit in one position, but this one can you fool it you a little, because if you turn it around, it will sit in a wrong position when you assemble it. So, and I don't know if there is any problem with those tiny screws like the other lens. But it's also a good thing to, when you put it together. Of course, when I was in the lens at first, I one of the holes here, which is not hole, but yeah, it's hole in this plate, but not underneath here. So I make I actually scratched this hole here, because then I will not get confused of, okay, how should it sit. But of course there is a cutout here and there is a cutout here, but just so you not get confused about it. Well, it's always good to have some details when you work with lenses with no repair manual. I haven't seen a lens repair manual for this lens, so now that's why I make my notes on it, which I think is very important. There are probably not somebody just ask, hey, can you help me with this lens? So taking out the plate, and you see it can only sit in one position, and again there's a lot of shiny oil here. And then we have the plates itself, and let's see how it works. In this case, it's a bit, I think it looks like it's a bit easier set up. So if I can lift this up, no, maybe I can lift up the plates. Yeah, see, they are different made than the other one. And if we turn it around, there is a pin here on the bottom of the, you see also the shiny oil here. So the blades can only sit in one way. That's easy. So I can just lift them out. Yeah. So part of it is actually made the same way. You see the ring that moved the plates is, yeah, it's made the same way with the small screws and the small spacers that lock the ring into position. So it is actually made the same way. Well, some of the plate has a lot of oil, but not, and some does not. And here we can also see how it works. Quite interesting. Oh, so now off with that. Let's see, there is a, yeah, you see this pin here on the other side will move this pin here. So if I move the ring, it will also move that pin here. So what I learned about the other lens I fix it. It was that this screw has to be unscrewed clockwise, and that's why I was thinking, it looks like it's the same, and they on this screw, especially on this screw, they use a lot of thread lock in my other lens, but I don't know if it's the case here. I will just let it sit there and not unscrew it. I mean, it's not necessary. It works like it should, so no problem. It doesn't feel sticky at all. And the other one here is also fine. So now I will take out all the screws here. Maybe it's not necessary, but well, I will do it anyway. Where is my screwdriver? Here. Because if I just put it into isopropyl alcohol, I have no idea how much can sit. I mean, still a thin oil film in here. So it's better to fully disassemble it, at least the aperture moving ring and the 5 screws here. Sometimes the easy way will be the not so easy way, because then you have to disassemble it again and do it all over again, which is not that not that good. But it's not a complicated lens to work with. Just you take your notes or take some pictures through the process or making a video. So now it's out, and I'll just take the last one. So, and looks like everything is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So now it's time for a bath. They will just stay there for a little time. And I think I will not put in the screws, but at least the small spacers, which also have some oil on them, at least on one side. Oh, now and there should be 5 screws. There is 5 screws. And then all the blades will also go into the shower here. So let it stay away, and then I will just use a few cotton buds to actually clean out in here, which I think is good. I will just speed up that process because I mean, there's no need to see me going through that process. So now, yeah, and then we can take the rest of the parts. Okay, so now I'll just take the parts up here and clean them gently, all those, and I will speed up the process probably, but now it when you assemble the aperture assembly, it will also say this here and this here. It will say there has to be no oil on those component. It has to run dry. So then I can take the blades. So now, okay, I can assemble the whole thing again as it was, and yeah, there's only one way to do that. This has to sit correct. It will say something like that. So if we put it that way, has to sit like this. Say something like that. And the other pin has to also sit correct. So now it sit as it should. Flip it over. And I think I will use my stand here to assemble it. I mean part of it. So first put on the screws and the spacers. It will interesting to see how it will go, because it is really tiny screws. Not it is impossible, but you see. So that was it. Just take the other over here. So there, and a screw. Yeah. So now I'm more safe in that way. I could just screw the screws gently, screw them, tighten them, and then the rest is just it's not that hard. Oh. there. So then we can continue. So, and then in the blades, that should be quite easy. See how we can use it, we can move it, and everything is correct. So on with the blades and the plate. Now, the more tricky part comes now, because I need to put the last blade under some of the first blade I put in. So I have to close the aperture little, and then the more tricky part comes, because I have to do it like this. So I see the point. So now it's there, and as you probably remember, it can only sit in one position. And since I also make my mark here, see this scratch, it will say this one has to sit like this. No. it can only sit in one position. That's, yeah. I make my scratch over here, and it was with that hole here. Sorry. So I can lower it here. And then it should be perfect. Wow. Now, this is how it should work. So now I can put it in, back in again. It will say I can do it like this. Put on my stand here, probably fully open. I think so. That would work. Hold on a second, I need to have this as high as possible, because you see the rubber tool here has to not go too has to be a certain length. So I just set it there and put this on here. There. Take this part here and yeah, it should sit like this. Ooh. Lower it gently over. So now it sits where it should, and I can flip it over. Whew. So now you can see it sits where it should, and I can now put in the where's my tweezer here. Then I can just put the screws in and say that's all fine. Where is my screwdriver here? Whew. So now you can see it works as it should. Wow, without any oil. And the blades works just so much better. Fine. So put the other screws in, and then we are almost almost yeah, then we are almost there. And tighten the screws good, not too much. It's aluminium. I mean, not the screws, they are made of brass, but you tighten the screws here, and then you can add the knots, which I think maybe it's not necessary to add some thread lock, because if someone else want to go into it, yeah, it will probably be a little challenge depending on what kind of thread lock you use. And if it's the case, I would use the the purple one, but I don't think I will use any. So I'll just add the nuts here using my my special homemade pig nose tool. There, going a little backward, and it should catch the thread. Yeah, and tighten it good, not too much. It's not big things. So and the last one. So there. Oh, then tighten it good. And since this you actually can get on, I found out on PhotoDX Pro, you can actually get a converter from the PNF mount to whatsoever lenses, I mean camera brands. So I think I will do that. Now we can put on the ring here, and it should sit. You have the little screw hole here, and the long gap here. So I should just put it on and have this part here sit correct. So something like that. And then I can add my special screw, which is, where did I put it? And I will just put it through the two legs, so it's so much easier to put in. So there. And have a good feeling of not tighten the screws too much. So, and here we are back again and can see what we can do. Since the parts here are not connected to the mount, they will not work as it should, but they will come to that. So now I can add the back lens group, I would think. So there, everything looks fine. And with the caliber tool, lens tool, whatever you have, just tighten it gently. So, and then we are almost there. Putting in the front lens group. Everything looks fine. Going a little backward so you can catch the thread, and then it should be no problem to put in. See, I can use the rubber gasket thingy to at least screw it in, and then I will use my hole saw here to actually tighten it good. So that's fine. And yeah, just put in the mount. And that can be a little tricky. So and it's best if you set the lens to infinity. It will say it is the back lens group sticks out a little, as you can see here. It will make it easier to catch the two I don't know what's called, levers or so. So let's see. Put it all the way over here and try to catch the light brass here. I mean light lever here, not the black one. And I know it's difficult to see, but and there's nothing else you can press this the lever here a little that way to make it stick out even more, but to take care of the spring too. And then I can so there. It maybe takes a little feeling to do that, but now it seems to work. Wow, that's good. So I can just add the 3 screw on the back and say that's all fine. Take care of the thread. So, and the last screw here. Tighten them good. And the last one here. Somebody has been into the lens before me, I can see. But so it is with all lenses. Now, I will put on the ring. Can only sit in one way. And of course we use the aperture 1:16. So the pin is here. The gap is here. So I can just put it on. Like this. Then I can move it. And if I press the pin on the back, it should work as it was meant to be. Now that's much better. And then I can add the little spring. And possibly also add a little grease, kind of. And I will use some liquid moly LM50. It's a lithium grease, which is really good. And I have a little here, just a tiny amount, only for the little spring, so I can stick the the little steel ball onto it. So this is all fine, I think. Add the little steel ball here, and it will stick to it. So there. Then put on the ring. It can only sit in one way in this case. See the cutout here, and it has to go there with the other cutout. I mean, this is a pin, this is a cutout, yeah, so it is. And then we have it. So that's it. And then the front ring here, the cutout, as you can see, it goes over that pin here, this one here. Then lower it. Then I can put on the front name ring and use my rubber gasket, going a little backward, catch the thread, and then you can press it in, tighten it good, then we are back to normal. Wow, sounds really good. So if we go in here on the back, I can fully close it. See, I use this pin here. So now the aperture blades are really good. So it is. So now that was actually all for me from this time. I'm working on different projects that will come out sooner, but when I have the time. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the content and can use it for your repair. That's all. Bye bye.